I joined LFB as it was in 1981 as an apprentice mechanic. Didn't really leave, didn't know anything else, so I've got a very narrow career and expertise band. So nothing else, but know quite a lot about fire appliances and operational equipment. A team of people working in my area, and we procure, design, modify, maintain and dispose of all of LFB's operational equipment and vehicles. And this is not me pushing Babcock at all, but this is what the contract is with London Fire Brigade. So in 2001 it was first outsourced, and it's changed hands a couple of times, but Babcock have now got a contract which allows exactly that in the top box there. It allows LFB to do what they do well, which is keep Londoners and visitors safe. And what we do is we make sure that we allow them to do that. It's quite a long contract, 21 years plus a 4-year possible extension. And it's a very interesting contract for lots of different ways. That's a general overview of what London is, what their makeup is, and the different types of vehicle and equipment. And it's been quite interesting listening to all of the other comments about haulage and buses and pence per mile and all the different fuels. When you look at one of the busiest stations in London, take Soho, it might go in and out of station 25, 30 times a day. And if you look at Biggin Hill, which is the least busiest station, it goes about once every other day. You can see the challenges. They've both got to do exactly the same thing, but in vastly different areas. What I wanted to do first is just go through a couple of technological advances, and you'll see where this is going in the end, and then how it affects that. It gives me challenges every day of the week to design the appliances. Evolved technology, I like to say, I'm not going to go through this in detail because I'm sure the audience here knows all about this, but you'll see the way it affects LFB vehicles going forwards. So things like automatic emergency braking, we've all seen the videos on YouTube, we know how it works, but it's technology that then allows that to happen. And technology also affects emissions. So you can see that is a great system, stops heavy goods vehicles from having rear-end collisions and causing lots of damage if the driver doesn't take action. And the systems are really clever to warn the driver. And if the driver takes no action, it takes over, because I'm firmly of the believer that technology most of the time knows better than a human being. Might be controversial, but that's how I stand at the moment. Lane departure warning again, this is another thing where systems on the vehicle are telling the driver what he should be doing. It's predicting, it's monitoring, and it's taking evasive action if necessary. Now, those two slides about emergency braking and lane departure warning are great on trucks and buses, but they're absolutely zero use on a fire appliance. If a fire appliance is trying to get to an incident in 6 minutes, which is London's predetermined attendance time, he needs to get close to the vehicle in front to then be able to overtake it. He doesn't want the vehicle cutting the power, warning him. It's okay if he's got his indicator on. This is where the technology changes. I'm not pushing Mercedes, the whole Mercedes fleet pretty much, but again, it's technology how it allows the uptime of vehicles to be maximised, which by its very nature reduces emissions because it's less time off the road, it's less reserve vehicles. And so I won't go through that because I'm sure you're a very clever audience there. But these are the technical challenges. This is my day job. This is what I'm presented with, and this is what I have to overcome, particularly with regards to lowering emissions. That photograph on the top right there obviously shows the exhaust treatment plant that we were presented with for the first Euro 6 fire appliance. The fire appliances for London can only be a specific size, 7.9 metres long and 3.1 high, so we couldn't just make it longer. I was suddenly presented with that size stowage piece of equipment to put somewhere on a vehicle that's already packed out with kit. So we spoke with the end user and the engineers, and the ultimate decision was that it's ended up on the bottom right, it's just highlighted there. We had to modify the body to accommodate that piece of exhaust equipment. Overcoming that is not too difficult. You can make a plastic body, whatever you like. You can do it on CAD, you can tick a box and it knocks them out. That's not a problem. But that is because that used to go in the space where the exhaust plant is. So now how does that get to an incident? How do London Fire Brigade send that piece of equipment to an incident? Who makes that decision? Is it better to save lives and property, or let's reduce the emissions slightly? Just one of those challenges. What we achieved with LFB was a very collaborative way of working out how they deploy the light portable pump. And now they deploy it via another appliance, which you could also look at. That's also emitting harmful emissions, but that was a result of the Euro 6 pumping appliance. One of the ways, this is a European appliance, conforming to the same regulations that the UK does. They chose to have the exhaust plant behind the crew cab steps. You can see bottom right, as you open the crew cab door, the steps fold out, which is a pretty good solution, because when the door closes, the steps go up, it hides the exhaust plant, doesn't impact on the stowage at all. But the impact of those steps not deploying at an incident when a firefighter gets out are huge. So then what do you do? That's another plate you've got to spin. It's another decision that you have to make. Do you risk a firefighter safety, not rescuing the person who should be rescuing, or do you impact the stowage? Day job. And what about the stability on the vehicle of that massive, great piece of machinery? It could go near side or off side. Thanks for that. It has to go somewhere. But we couldn't disassemble it. We couldn't split it in half and put half on the left, half on the right. So we had to bite the bullet, really. But it meant that the stowage on that appliance, which is already in the right positions for operational reasons, was further impacted by that, because we were only allowed to design a vehicle with no more than 50 kilos side-to-side weight differential. So you put that massive heavy box on the offside, you've now got to put something on the near side to counteract that, which might not be the right place operationally. And technology used in firefighting. I've taken the liberty of just copying a tweet from Tom George, who's the Deputy Commissioner, and he's soon to retire, and he just tweeted that, which is a really good example of how in his time in the LFB, things have moved on, not just vehicle-related, not just emissions-related, but everything technology-wise. But a lot of that is emissions-related. And one of those things he mentioned there, the hydraulic tools, and this is the hydraulic cutting gear. That was the, should we say, the current design, which has got a nice 4-stroke petrol engine, power pack on the top right there. It was a 4-firefighter lift because of the weight of it, so you can see a handle on each corner. Where it really came into question was the 7/7 bombings, where they were doing train crash and rescues subsurface. You take that down there, start up a 4-stroke petrol engine, and you gas everyone trying to save people. Obviously, it wasn't great. LFB decided that the best thing they could do is resolve the whole lot, which they did. And we've now replaced it with a battery-powered tool that does the same thing. There's a couple of benefits of that. One is it's a single firefighter lift now, so when they get an incident, it's one firefighter, takes a bit of kit, goes and rescues, frees up 3 firefighters for something else. Also doesn't emit anything, and it's quiet, so the person that's getting rescued, even though they're in a fairly traumatic position at the moment, it reduces any additional trauma, which is only a good thing. But of course, what we're not looking at now is how do we charge those batteries, how do we charge those tools? When the vehicle's only run for 6 minutes before it gets to the incident and it has to turn the engine off, apart from the command pump, how do we make those batteries fully charged rather than going to rescue someone and they can't because there's no power pack? I might be going off topic ever so slightly, but there is a point to this. This is a photograph of the rear pump bay on one of the outgoing appliances. We're putting 186 new appliances on with London, one a week. We're about 106, 107 in at the moment. So these are the old ones going off, and it's just really where they control the fire pump. That's a new one. Essentially, it's the same fire pump, but the control systems are completely different. You can see on the top left there, those are the 3 main gauges that the firefighters use on the old pump, but the new pump has been replaced by a centralised control system. All technology again, but what it does, it frees firefighters up to do other work. So you can preset pressures, you can preset flows, you've got all your controls there rather than having to run around from different controls to another. And this is all about making the appliance more efficient when it gets to the incident, which is what then reduces the emissions because of the amount of time it has to spend there. You spoke about i3s. Yeah, London have got 52 of them. Been on fleet since 2016. And they displaced some diesel Astras, which were the officers' cars, which is absolutely right. And if you look at the figures and the impact that's had on London Fire Brigade's carbon footprint, if you like, it's tremendous. It's absolutely tremendous. Go one level below and think how we have to maintain those i3s. So those are range extenders as well, and they've got different size wheels and tyres, front to rear. How do we maintain those the same as we can maintain the Vauxhall Astras? So we had to completely change the parts that we held, and the response times. You can't tow them because it generates electricity every time the wheel turns, so you have to lift them now rather than towing them. Limited accident repair centres, although that is getting bigger now. But the big thing was the end user buy-in. You can put what you like on fleet, but if the end user doesn't want to use it, then you're really in trouble, and it's almost counterproductive. Now we're 3 years in, it's much, much better. It's much better, but those are challenges of doing that. A good thing. And in future technology, again, just an indication that appliance exists at the moment. It's a Rosenbauer vehicle called a concept fire truck. There are plenty out there of the principle, but it's not a fire engine unless it can pump for 4 hours. That's the benchmark. That's the critical pass-fail thing. So if any alternative fuels, they can get to an incident, no problem, but can it pump for 4 hours without needing refuelling? And the answer at the moment is no, it's not. So probably range extender technology will be exactly that to power the fire pump.
Brilliant. Thank you very much
Okay.
indeed, Neil.